everyone, and the topic for the first series for my YouTube channel is Jurisprudence. Well, as a law student, I remember that I treated it as one of the most dry subject and one of the most confusing and difficult subjects because it is all based on theory, all based upon what jurist said, which jurist said what about law. So I'm trying to make it a bit more easier for you, and I hope I succeed in doing so. So let's get started. Well, jurisprudence is basically derived from a Latin term which is jurisprudentia, wherein juris means law and prudentia means knowledge. So in a broader sense, I can say that jurisprudence deals with knowledge of law. Now, what exactly does that mean, and why is it important for us as law students to read or to understand jurisprudence? Well, we all know that we as human beings, we live in a society, in a state, and in order to govern this society and have a peaceful coexistence, we need somebody in the form of a sovereign, which today is the government, who's gonna protect our rights, who's gonna make the policies and rule us in a manner that our rights are protected and also we obey the duties amongst ourselves. So in order to do this, there are certain set of rules, certain sets of regulations which need to be followed, and those rules, those regulations, the codification of those rules and regulation and the conversion of those rules into law to govern the society, that is where this jurisprudence comes into picture. We need to understand what exactly the law is, how was that law framed, and how has this law evolved from time to time in order to have a better understanding of the same. For example, if I say that we have Hindu Marriage Act, we all know that initially it was governed according to the customs of particular religion. Later they were codified and now they are governed according to the codified provisions. When that codification was happening, those customs and usage which were applicable at that point of time, they were taken care and consideration. For example, the ceremonies which are performed, that is the Saptapadi, which is considered as an essential ceremony, was taken to be a part of Section 7 of the present HMA. So, that is what knowledge of law is. Knowledge of law helps us to understand the history, why and what led to the evolution or the formation of this particular law. Then it helps us to understand the legal exposition, that is the law prevailing in the society at present. And finally, the science of legislation, which helps us to make or formulate the future legislation. As we all know that the society is changing. It is ever processing. It is not static. Similarly, this law also need to change in order to have a pace with the changing needs of the society. So, when we have something changing in the society for which we do not have an existing law into picture, then we take this into consideration. If I quote the recent example of Navtej Singh Johar judgment, in that case, Justice Chandrachud very beautifully in his judgment explained the jurisprudence involved, the jurisprudential concept of homosexuality, and that is how he decriminalized, he in a case advocate the decriminalization of homosexuality. So this jurisprudence has basically three important components. It deals with legal exposition, legal history, and science of legislation. Well, if I talk about the law as we know it has a long history of evolution starting from the Greek period up till 21st century. There were different jurists who gave different definitions of law with the changing time. For instance, if I talk about Alpen, he said that the knowledge of things divine and human, the science of right and wrong. Similarly, Holland defined jurisprudence as formal science of positive law. And so on, a lot many jurists gave their definitions of jurisprudence and law according to the era, the century in which they came. So, jurisprudence of these jurists according to the school which